exterminate!
Whoa, hopefully that Dalek is gone. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, today I am going to talk about what I think will happen in Series 1 of Doctor Who in 2024. Wow, yes, this is a very interesting kind of intro, right? Anyway, let's go and talk about what I think will happen. Alonzi! Doctor Who! So, the first episode of Series 1 is going to be called Space Babies. Obviously, this is a pretty much, a self-explanatory title, right? So, it's about space babies in space. Yeah, so there we go. But I think the hidden meaning of it all is probably that the space babies are some kind of like intelligent life forms. Like they were bred in this spaceship for this specific reason, to be like genius, to be intelligent and smart. And I think in this episode there will be a woman playing she will be playing their caretaker probably. She will look after the babies, or maybe she'll try to stop them, I don't know. But on the ship there's also this kind of, I would say, boogeyman, this monster, right? Trying to eat the babies probably. And I think this is kind of like, this refers back to like one of those old, Wendigo kind of stories, right? When the Wendigo tries to eat children, I believe. Like, those foreign backstories of certain mythical or, story-ish characters. So yes, this monster is probably going to be eating some babies. Probably, I mean, that would be very dark to see in Doctor Who, but Doctor Who has touched a lot of darkness before, and like, for example, Blink and stuff like that, and a lot more different things, right? So I would say the space babies are trying to take care of a planet, of their ship, probably. Maybe it's some kind of Wall-E situation where they went up to space to actually live there, because their planet is non-habitable anymore, and the people of their species bred babies, but those babies have intelligent brains, and those babies are probably here to take over the universe. They could be villainous though. That could be also be very, very true. That that could be interesting to see, I guess. But yes, I think that's the main concept, and the boogeyman is trying to eat those babies, and the Doctor and Ruby need to stop it. Alright, episode 2 is called The Devil's Chord, which is really interesting. This is obviously about like the 60s and the swing 60s baby. So yes, this is about like the Doctor and Ruby landing in Liverpool, right? Where they go to Abbey Road and try to meet the Beatles. But Russell T Davies had said that there won't be any Beatles music in this episode. What? That's insane. I mean, I'm not quite sure what he's planning, but I think that's like maybe his goal, right? To have a Beatles episode without Beatles music. Maybe what's her name? James Mansour, right? Or Jinx Mansour, I believe that's her name. His name, the character that he or she is going to play, I'm not quite sure, or they is going to play, is this villainous godlike being who can literally control music notes. So yeah, very interesting. This one could be one of the legions of the Toymaker, obviously maybe from the same universe too, or the same dimension. But I think in this episode, the Doctor and Ruby are going to stop it, so that's for sure. And I think maybe it or she or he may rewrite reality in some way. Maybe it will make sure that the Beatles don't exist or something, I don't know. But eventually, and at the end of the episode, we have this post-apocalyptic London, and yes, this Jinx Jinx Monsoon's character is going to be very villainous and very chaotic too, and very strong. But this is also going to be a musical episode, our very first one in Doctor Who, I might add, which is really nice. We've seen like the Doctor dancing and singing, so that might be interesting. So yes, very interesting. I don't think I'll need to look deeper down, like, into the story of that. Like, I think that's pretty much it. Like, you have the main villain trying to stop the Beatles, and the Doctor and Ruby are there to stop it. Yeah, this character might return in the future. That's probably for sure. Alright, the third episode is called Boom, and this episode is written by Stephen Moffat, which is the former Doctor Who showrunner. And I believe some people say that this episode is about the Doctor landing on or stepping on a landmine, which is, very bad. And Ruby needs to sort everything out, because if the Doctor dies, she can't go back to Earth. And if the Doctor, doesn't die, what happens with the mine, right? So I believe this might be very centered around Ruby for some reason. This episode might be interesting, and the Doctor needs to, it's like this theory about a cat. If you put a cat in a box, it might live or it might die. So this is probably the same situation with the Doctor. He might live or he might die stepping on this landmine. Obviously, I'm not quite sure what this story is about, but people say it's about like a landmine, and Boom is a pretty fitting title, right? So yes, there we go. I hope this episode is more centered around Ruby than the Doctor, but we'll see. Alright, the fourth and the middle point of this series is 73 yards. I'm not quite sure what this episode is going to be about, but people say that it has scenes from like the cliff scenes, like, right? So where the Doctor is like in his yellow Paddington looking coat, which is interesting. I'm not quite sure what to think of it. It might be about like the sea or whatever. I mean, the Doctor looks like he's trying to go to sea or something. 73 yards. That might also be like a historical episode. I'm not quite sure. Like, there is not a lot of information about this episode. 73 yards. It looks scary. It looks promising. It looks menacing. I would say maybe I would love to see Weeping Angel in this episode, because it looks scary and Weeping Angels are scary. So, but maybe I associate them with scariness, but probably not quite sure though. I'm really not quite sure. But 73 yards, it's a very interesting title, and yeah, that's all I know about this episode so far. Alright, the next episode, which is episode 5, is called Dot and Bubble. I think this is the episode where there is this city in this giant bubble, right? So there we go. We have the first word solved and crossed off, right? Dot and Bubble, very interesting. So there is this city in this bubble, probably, and as seen in trailers, obviously, and the people inside, they're living their lives, right? But for some reason, this is also the episode with the gigantic slug. So maybe, just maybe, people might go insane, because in some scenes we saw like arrows pointing towards the mouth of that worm. So maybe people have some kind of virtual reality and they don't really know that the slug exists, and if they walk inside, they're dead, right? It's also about this girl. So this other girl with the blonde hair, she might play a part in this episode. Maybe she can see the worm, but I think I think it might be about the blindness of some people. That would be very interesting, but yeah, I'm not quite sure. A very interesting episode title, Dot and Bubble. Maybe it could also be about a reality show. I'm not quite sure. Alright, the next episode is this Bridgerton episode, which is called Rogue, where the Doctor and Ruby go to the 18th century or 19th century, whatever, where the 18th century London, probably, or England, something like that, where they meet this person from Hamilton, like the actor played in Hamilton, and this is probably where they find some kind of mystery, or, I don't know, where there's this person, right, from I'm not quite sure, Jonathan Groff, I believe is his name. He's like some kind of spy or something. He has like science fiction weaponry, so he might be a time agent. People say that he might be Jack Harkness, like Captain Jack, but I'm not quite sure. I don't think so, and that would be very weird because I love Jack and Jack is an absolute legend. But whatever. There's also these, these eagle-ish, bird-ish, woman-looking Bridgerton ladies. So they might transform into different people throughout this episode, or just, I don't know. Very interesting, but yes, I think this might be a very, I would say, story-based episode. Like, it's a historical episode, and this time agent, he might also return in the future to help the Doctor, because this might be the next Captain Jack though, but not Captain Jack, like I said. Alright, the second last episode is The Legend of Ruby Sunday. So this episode might focus around like Ruby, obviously, and her family. But this is probably the first part of the two-parter, right? So this one and the last episode are 2 parts, right? But I think this might also focus around like the United States base. That somewhere, there was like a leak a few months ago about like this United States base where there are like technologies, or the technology where they actually find intelligent alien life form, which is based off real life. I don't know, but this might focus around like in a United States base. And maybe it might be about the Daleks or the Cyberman, but that's just a grain of salt and my opinion and my idea, because the next one is called Empire of Death, and which other Doctor Who villain might represent death more than the Daleks, obviously, or the Cyberman. Obviously the Daleks appear in pretty much every like end of like a season. That's like the entire meme of them. But Cyberman could also be very interesting, or it might be a new villain, right, for Doctor Who. But if they went for a Dalek route, that might be safe played, right? But let's talk about the secret identity of Ruby, right? That might be explored in these 2 episodes. So who is Ruby? I wrote a few things down. The first one is nobody ? She might be a nobody. She might just be a daughter of some random woman or some random man. But, she might be also very special. Maybe that nobody can turn into a somebody, right? So, there we go. The next one is, this might be far stretched, but, the Doctor's from another dimension, and maybe Ruby is from that same dimension. Maybe she's the Doctor's sister, mother, aunt, or niece, or maybe just from an alternate world, right? Could also be that. Well, obviously, these are just my ideas. She could be a child of a prior companion, like I've wrote a few things down, like Clara. Maybe she had a daughter, but she's dead, so that wouldn't make sense. Maybe she's the daughter of River, which would make her the Doctor's daughter, obviously. But we have Jenny, so that also would make sense. We have she could be the child or the granddaughter of Susan Foreman. No, very interesting, right? Or she could be the daughter of Kate Lethbridge Stewart. So, yeah, but then again, why would Kate want to hide her baby? Maybe she did that for the safety and stuff like that of her child. But, she's the head of unit, so probably not. But I think Kate and Ruby look alike, so there you go. She might be a Gallifreyan, but then again, far stretched. She could be Mrs. Flood, like a younger version of Mrs. Flood. Very interesting theory. And or she could be a future villain or a daughter of a future villain. So that's very interesting. But obviously, we might find out in these episodes, obviously. But I think that might be it, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And I can't wait to bloody watch this series, because it's going to be freaking epic. Alright, bye bye everyone. Allons-y!